as a lead-in, every letter that I know to exist, one from General Welsh on the Air Force side, General Grass, General Milley, are there others? I'm aware of 3 at least that all talk about professional organizations. There's a background paper on what you can and can't do. And let me just preface that it does not say anywhere that you cannot put literature out under any circumstances, that you cannot use email archives under any circumstances. There are allowances for things. There are boundaries, but it's not prohibited. If you have someone telling you that you can't come in, that's not true. You can in certain instances, and that's what Frank's going to talk about. So I turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you. So this is professional development, professional associations. Okay. Well, let me start by saying there are professional associations and there are other professional associations. My wife is, you've heard my wife. Many of you have met her. Better half. I'm the bitter half. She's a certified financial planner. She's affiliated with the Certified Financial Planning Board, CFP Board. They're located in Washington, D.C., but all CFPs that are practicing CFPs affiliate with the CFP Board. Tony DeFada is an accountant that we work with. He's a CPA. There is an association called AICPA. Maybe some of you know of that. Maybe some of you have heard of the CFP Board. Maybe some of you have heard of the Airline Pilots Association. Maybe some of you have heard about the American Medical Association. There are professional associations that represent different categories of people and interests. This association, I'm speaking to the choir here. Where'd he go? He left. I'm speaking to the choir. This is your professional association. If you are enlisted and you're in the National Guard, this is your professional association. The important part about this association is that it has no divided loyalties. There is an association that represents the Air Guard. There's a couple of them. One of them isn't meeting here. They're meeting in San Antonio right now, this week, right now. As we're speaking here, they're meeting in San Antonio. Maybe you've heard of it. It is called right now the Air Force Sergeants Association. Have you heard of that? Some of you say yes. Okay, so you've heard of the AFSA, the Air Force Sergeants Association, but they have divided loyalties because they represent the active Air Force, the Air Force Reserve, and the Air National Guard. And I don't know how big their membership of the Air National Guard is in AFSA, but you can bet when they go to the Hill, they're representing the majority of their members, and the majority of their members are active Air Force. There is an association called AUSA. We love AUSA dearly, okay? I'm not going to tell you not to join AUSA, but AUSA, our Association of the United States Army, has divided loyalties. They have the active Army, the Army Reserve, and the Army Guard. And I will tell you that the majority population in AUSA is not the Army Guard. Believe me? I hope you do. It's true. Their active Army is really who they represent. Look who their leadership is. A retired 4-star active Army. Is it a guy like General Blum who's in that organization? No. It's a retired 4-star. I'm not saying anything about General Ham. Ham's a great guy, okay? But they have divided loyalties. This association does not have divided loyalties. It only represents National Guardsmen, both Air and Army, enlisted, and that's it, okay? No divided loyalties. We are your professional association. So when we go to the Hill, we represent that professional association. And we tell them that we represent well over 1 million people because it's true. We represent 460,000 Air and Army National Guardsmen, and we represent family members, and we represent retirees. Any retirees in the room? We're still representing you. Me, I'm a retiree. We're representing you on the Hill. We're representing surviving spouses on the Hill. And that's more than 1 million, right? More than 1 million. And God bless him. Luther Thomas is still here? No, he's not here. There is no association for the reserve enlisted, the Army Reserve enlisted. There used to be a Reserve Enlisted Association. It's been disbanded, kind of, sort of. It was always kind of part of the Reserve Officers Association. But we represent them too. Why? Well, the reason is that you can't just go to the Hill and say, I'm going to go to the Hill and I'm going to represent the Army National Guard or the Air National Guard or just the National Guard, and we want TRICARE Reserve Select, or we want a blended retirement system for the reserve components, because when you go to the Hill and you do that, you're really representing all 7 reserve components because it applies equally to every single one of them. So we're carrying the water for them as well, and that's okay. We ought to get money out of them, you know that?
That's what I told him when I handed him that portfolio.
Well, I'm telling you, we got to get money out of those people. It's great. We also belong to the Military Coalition. Now, the Military Coalition is about 31 different organizations that are just like us, and they're having an election coming up here in November, and you know what they've asked me to do? Consider being the co-chair of the Military Coalition for the enlisted folks.
Awesome. Awesome.
And I'm considering it, because I have nothing to do. We're out there to represent you, and we represent you on Capitol Hill. We need your help. We need a lot of help. Okay, I've got 7 wonderful folks that works for me, and they're back here. Joan's one of them. She does a great job. We have 7 people at the national office that just put in more than 40 hours a week, every single one of them for you, even though a couple of them are part-time. They're wonderful. But let me tell you, we need your help. We can't do membership at the national office. You have to do membership. We want to help you as much as we can, but we don't do membership at the national office. That's on you. So we need you to go out and spread the word, figure out how to talk to millennials, figure out how to do projects, do whatever you got to do. We should have 414,000 enlisted men and women from the National Guard as members of this organization. Amen? Every single one of them ought to be members of this association. And then we have our retirees on top of that, and our family members on top of that, and our auxiliary on top of that. And we should have more than, or close to, 1 million members of EANGUS. We can do that. We can do that. Okay? It shouldn't be 5% of the force. It should be 100% of the force. We can do that. We also have a special partnership right now because the Military Coalition kind of mostly pushes active duty issues. We've formed a different coalition. We've formed, it's unofficial, but it's working, an alliance with ROA, the Reserve Officers Association, NAUGUS, EANGUS. Sometimes we allow AUSA to join us. Sometimes we allow the VFW to join us. And we just push reserve component issues on the Hill, because that's a special category. And let me give you an example. How much time have I got?
You're good.
Blended retirement passed last year. You heard about that? You've heard some of the speakers talk about blended retirement and how wonderful it is. And it is for active duty folks. Because if you're not going to spend 20 years, invest in that defined benefit plan, and you're going to leave early, you should be able to take something with you. So you put money into your 401k. So DOD said starting in 2018, anybody that enlists after that is going to get 3% in there for the first 2 years. And after that, they can boost it to 5%. And when they boost it to 5%, they'll match it, another 5%. And oh, by the way, DOD will add another percent on top of that. So you can get 11%. And that sounds great, doesn't it? And so anybody that's enlisted or officer goes in and they start that defined contribution part as well as the defined benefit. The defined benefit gets reduced from 2.5% per year to 2% per year. But that's not a big hit. But the rest of it's supposed to be made up in the TSP. TSP is a 401k, right? Got that? Stay with me now. TSP is a 401k. They're not separate. They're the same. Okay? It's just what they call it. So, reserve component people, they enlist. Different story altogether. Makes sense for the active duty folks. Doesn't make sense for the reserve component folks. Why not? Because the military is not your first job, is it? What's your primary job? Working for somebody else, right? Or yourself. And so you're working for UPS, you're working for FedEx, you're on the road working for Schneider, whoever it happens to be, and you're maxing out your 401k, aren't you? And hopefully you work for an employer that matches. I work for an employer that matches.
You're welcome.
So you're maxing out your 401k because you don't want to give up the free money that the employer is going to give you, right? And my employer matches 5%, so I'm putting in 5%, right? So I can get his 5% too. And that's a good deal, right? So then I decide in 2018 I'm going to join the military. And I'm going to start investing in a TSP plan. And then when I get to year 3, I get 5%, the DOD matches the 5%, plus they put in 1%. What problem am I having, though? IRS has a limit, has a cap, $18,000 a year. Well, if I'm overdriving my civilian one, how much can I overdrive the military one? Oh, wait, now I've just reduced my benefit on the military side, haven't I? Because I hit that cap. And DOD, when they put it in the law, didn't think about the part-time folks. They only thought about those active duty folks. So who's lobbying the Hill to raise the cap? EANGUS. okay, because we recognized it. And you think DOD is going to change it for us? Oh, no, no, no. So we're going to have to go to other committees on the Hill. It's not the Armed Services Committee. It's not the VA committees. We got to go to the Government Affairs Committee to get them to change IRS code and do a carve-out for the reserve component folks, all 850,000 of them. Thank you very much. Not just the Guard. So that we can all enjoy a higher cap on IRS code so we can put into that 401k under the blended retirement plan. That's what makes sense. So blended retirement's not over yet. We're still fighting that one. Another way, and it's the Reserve Component Coalition that they're listening to, and they're allowing us to testify in front of the House and the Senate to be able to do that because we come with solutions and we come with recommendations and we don't whine. The MICRMIC, the Military Compensation and Retirement Commission, who started this blended retirement thing to begin with, they issued a report, and one of the things in their report was working age retirees, hello, that's me, can pay more towards their health care. And they suggested 1% per year times 20 years that they can pay more. And we went to Congress and we testified and we said, we're on board with that. That sounds like blasphemy in a place like this, doesn't it? And Harry's back there with his arms, no, We said we're good with that because if you've ever done the numbers on that, you figure out that that's $5 a year the first year. Can I afford $5 a year if I'm a working age retiree? I'm working for EANGUS. Can I afford $5 a year? Can any of you that are working age retirees afford $5 a year? Yes, you can. Okay? 10 years from now, do you know how much that comes to? $5 a month. Can you afford $5 a month? Yes, you can. Just put down that Starbucks. Forget the Happy Meal. You can afford $5. So we went to Congress and we said, our guys are good with that. Now, we want value for it. We're not just going to give you the money. We want value for it. But doggone it, we can afford that. We're on board with that. We're okay with an increase in TRICARE fees. You think anybody is testifying and saying that? No, we are. So they were like, well, we're not going to do that. We don't want to raise your fees. Joe Heck, Dr. Heck, what state is he part of? What state is he part of?
Nevada.
Dr. Joe Heck said, we're not raising fees. But we like the way that you are playing. We like that you guys are willing to talk to us. We like the idea that you're not just saying, heck no, that you're willing to talk. We want you to come back and talk to us some more. Foot in the door for EANGUS, right? Your professional association's making that happen on the Hill for you. Let me throw another one out there that we brought up. Survivor Benefit Plan. Anybody familiar with the Survivor Benefit Plan? Hopefully none of you are the recipients of the Survivor Benefit Plan. That's not a joke. Okay, so on drill weekend, you got an Apache helicopter. How many people fly in an Apache helicopter? How many pilots are there? Yeah. Okay, so one of them's AGR and one of them's IDT, and they're out there flying on drill weekend because AGRs, they drill, right? Okay, so you have two pilots, one's AGR and one is IDT, and that helicopter goes down and has an unexpected impact with the terrain, and it kills both of them. Are the benefits different for their surviving spouses? Say words like yes.
Yes.
The benefits are totally different because of the status that they're in when that airplane went down. Is that fair? No. So what did EANGUS do? We went to the Hill and we have people who have sponsored legislation and put it into the NDAA for 2017 that says that if you are IDT and you have an accident like that where you die on IDT status, your survivor benefit payments to your surviving spouses is exactly the same as active duty, and that's in the 2017 NDAA, and that would not have been there without EANGUS pushing that.
Awesome.
And I'm going to finish with this. Is that worth $36 a year for your membership?
Hey, before you leave, correct me if I'm wrong, the original language for the blended retirement system law or change that we supported contained language where guardsmen would get an immediate annuity upon retirement, not wait till age 60. The original language contained that.
The original language did contain that.
And that was a significant reason why this organization supported the blended retirement change. But it didn't end up that way, did it?
It did not. However, there is a bill that has been dropped by Tim Walls, life member from what state? Minnesota, who is trying to rectify that. It's not going to go anywhere this year. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going anywhere this year. But I will tell you that in the legislation that they were working on, they were going to give lump sum payments to those who retired from active duty, but we're not going to give it to the reserve component people. And one person went to the committee staff and said, we want lump sum benefits for reserve component folks. And you know who that one person was? Scott Boosum. Who does he work for?
Angus.
It's in the law, isn't it? Lump sum for reserve components is in there because of Scott, because of this organization. Now, can we tweak that and bring the lump sum date that you can start to get that from age 60 down to age 38? We're working on it, okay? We're working on it. But they're listening to us because of your association and the kind of people you have in Washington, D.C. that are carrying the water for you. But we need your help. And let me tell you another, if I could. One other thing we need to do, we need your feedback. When we're doing stuff, we need to hear from you. Because they'll ask us, how many people are affected by this? What stories have you heard? What's going on out in the States? And we can't do that. Scott looks at me and he goes, man, I've never served before. I've never served before in the Guard or in the military at all. I don't know what my membership's doing. We need to hear from you. Please. You know, we have a really easy email address. If you can't remember frank@ingus.org, then remember ingus@ingus.org. Okay? Because ingus@ingus.org gets answered, doesn't it, Joan? Yes, it does. Same day. Ingus@ingus.org, frank@ingus.org, Scott@ingus.org, Daniel@ingus.org, Joan@ingus.org, Lavanya@ingus.org, Pratt@ingus.org, Brian@ingus.org, Cheryl@ingus.org. You have questions, first name at ingus.org. You can't remember our first name? Go to ingus.org, go down to the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of the web page, we have our post office pictures down there. You know, wanted. You'll find our first name down there. Take the first name at ingus.org. You'll get hold of us. We'll answer you, really, but we want to hear from you. You're our membership. We need to know what you want. And we hear from the Executive Council, but we want to hear from you too.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate you.